Training for the men and women of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force will be one of the key areas of focus in the government's efforts to reform policing in St. Lucia. So says Home Affairs Minister Dr. Virginia Albert Poyotte, who adds that the increased support for the police goes beyond the upgrading of physical facilities and the providing of additional equipment. The Home Affairs Minister says the Royal St. Lucia Police Force has some catching up to do, having been starved of training over the past few years.
When this government came in, we found that there was a zero allocation for training for police. We even found that a number of persons were recruited to the police force without any prior training. They were just dressed in uniform and they were on the road and doing policing. So that we find was an atrocity. You cannot have, this is a specialized unit. It's not something where you can go and do some reading and you get your CXC and you get your first degree in anything and the next day you're a police officer. It requires some special skills, and at least you need that orientation before you come into the police force. And when we discovered that, government immediately put some allocation in the budget. Initially, we put about $300,000 to train the police officers, and we have increased that. So really and truly, we have seen that training officers to carry out their work is critical. And one of them would be their attitude towards the public. How do they relate to people?
Dr. Virginia Albert Poyotte says one component of the development of police officers is the exposure to regional and international best practices. She says, though academic qualification is important, it should not be the sole determiner of who is promoted.
Right now we are getting the recruitment and assignment of police officers to be a lot more sophisticated. And that is why I mentioned earlier that we are looking at rebranding the police force. And rebranding means a lot of things. And recently we have concluded what we call a benchmark qualification for the protective services. We found that a lot of persons were promoted within these ranks based on certificates. And it's not just a master's in business administration or a master's in technology and so on. It's whether you have the skills, the experience, and the ability to do the work as specified. And therefore, the team of experts that designed and came up with the benchmark qualification, we are going to use it to determine whether you are moving up the ranks and what would qualify you, and not so much how many certificates you have, what degree. That matters, but it's not the primary focus.
The Home Affairs Ministry is embarking on some far-reaching changes to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force that will focus on retraining, re-equipping, and profound adjustments to the recruiting and promoting of officers. Stanley Lucian for the HAS News Force.